Takes a while to get going here. Okay, there we go. All right, welcome everybody. You survived the first week. So hopefully everybody, there was quite a few of you that didn't get the Unit 1 test in by last night, okay? So you need to make sure you get that in. But let me just go over a couple things. Today we're going to talk about crime and crime awareness and how we get like statistics and stuff like that through crime. Just so you know, this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes. And as we're doing it, make sure you're following along with the Nearpod lesson. If you can jump on with me, that's great because we have some chat board things coming up. If you're unable to do the chat board, I expect you just kind of do it through the chat, and then also use the chat tool respectfully and appropriately the first time. Then we get moving along with everything. All right, so we're going to talk about crime awareness today. Before I do that, let me just jump into the course here of what it looks like. As you can see, this week is we have what's today? Today is the 31st. Wow, September's tomorrow. Live lesson today. That's what you're in. Recorded lesson. If you didn't get it, be right there. Unit 2 quiz is due this week. So that's going to be due actually next Wednesday when that comes around. But Unit 1 quiz was due yesterday. So as I said, quite a few of you did not do Unit 1 quiz. So jump in, hurry and do it. It's pretty easy to see here. As you can look here, we're heading over into September. Got a bunch of things just kind of rolling up. And then the last day of the block is October 12th. Okay, cool. So as long as you got it done. Hopefully I just barely said what the assignment was. That is the Unit 2 quiz. Okay. All right, so how you get there is you go to content. Then if you go to Unit 1, the Unit 1 quiz is right here. Okay, today we'll be working in Unit 2 though. Here's the Nearpod link if you want to go through it or you just follow along as we're going along today. Got some information about crime awareness right here, and you got the Unit 2 quiz that's due at that end of this. So that is what we're rolling over. Okay. I'm just going to preface, we are talking about the major crimes today that happen, and they are the ones that are reported in the crime system. But just to give you fair warning and stuff like that, one is murder and one is rape, that kind of stuff. So we will be talking just briefly about those things, okay? If you would like to go ahead in the class, you can go ahead too. I'd rather you go through and finish than maybe get bored of it and not finish at the end, right? So if you're motivated right now to get through it, you guys are more, feel free to go through the course. I'm more than happy for you to do that. Somebody asked that question. Okay. Okay, yeah, somebody wants the link to the Nearpod. Let me throw that in the chat real quick. That's thrown right here. Okay. All right, let's talk about crime. So they have what's called the UCRS, which stands for Uniform Crime Reporting System. It's the FBI's formal crime reporting system. It began in 1930. And so that's where we kind of get our statistics. Like some people might say, oh, it's a very dangerous area to live in certain areas. And they're really citing these kind of statistics and where they come from, okay? So the U.S. Attorney General authorized the collection of these crime statistics, and each state provides them, and each department provides them. But to kind of get us a little bit more into what is crime and kind of a theoretical base, we're just going to watch a quick video. If it does lag for you, it might be better for you to watch it through just the Nearpod by yourself. So feel free to do that. So here we go.
Hi there, this is Margit from criminologyweb.com, and in this video I'll take on the question, what is crime? When talking about crime, many people think about famous cases, like the assault at Rodney King in the US, or the mafia in Italy, or perhaps the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi in India. But crime isn't restricted to the famous cases or even what we think of as serious cases. Crime includes violence, robberies, rape, and drug wars, but also stealing at work, corruption, corporate fraud, and tax violations. But what else is crime and what is it not? These seem like questions with obvious answers, but when you start looking into these questions, it turns out that it's not always so easy to say what is a crime and what is not a crime. What about, for example, when one hears the neighbor screaming or potentially beating his or her family, or when companies pollute the air with their toxic substances? Of course, there is the law, which determines what is legal and what is illegal. But the thing is that the contents of the law vary depending on time and legal system. So let's look at a couple of examples of how the law varies by time. One example is domestic violence. It used to be tolerated, and in some places it still is, when a man or a woman beats his or her partner and kids. Nowadays, in many countries, that is considered to be problematic, to say the least. As another example, in 1784 in Prussia, which is the forerunner of modern-day Germany, only much larger, there was a law that mothers were not allowed to take their under 2-year-old children into their beds. That idea has changed quite a bit in many places. It also used to be a crime in different parts of the world to work on a Sunday, and maybe it still is in some areas. So these are some examples of how the law varies by time. The law also varies by legal system. An example of this is prostitution. In some countries, prostitution is illegal. In other countries, prostitution is legal. And in still other countries, it is a criminal offense to buy sexual services, meaning to be a client of a prostitute. So what does that say about prostitution? Is it a crime or is it not a crime? Another example is the consumption of cannabis. Also in this area, there are quite different rules and laws. In some countries, the possession of small quantities of cannabis is legal, and in other countries, it's not. But even for a crime like murder, one cannot say that this is always and everywhere regarded to be an offense and treated that way. In some places, you can murder certain people without being punished for it. An example of that is honor killings, which can be committed while the police are looking away in some places. Or war. In war, there are different rules, and sometimes things are allowed that are not allowed otherwise. In many cases, when you talk about crime with other people, you can probably get by when you use the current legal definition of crime in the area where you live. But especially when talking about crime across time and place, one should be aware that the definition of crime is a product of society, culture, and of time, and so that it can change. For more fast
All right. So to me, what that video kind of shows is that crime varies just depending upon the values, the culture of what things are, right? So if you have some places, you may disagree with crimes. So let's talk about crime real quick. For those of you that are near pod, or please post in the chat if you're not. So crime is a subject based upon where you live. What are some crimes that you may disagree with? Okay, so public intoxication. I don't think drinking in public's illegal, maybe in some places, but they do have some Utah laws. You're right that prohibit being seen from drinking, like in restaurants and stuff like that.
In most areas, when in most areas you can technically drink in public if you have a paper bag over the alcohol, but that's such a very stupid specification. And honestly, it's more likely to make a person think it's alcohol than like a soda.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
several canned alcohols. And if it's like, oh, we can't show alcohol in public, having a brown paper bag over it just makes it more visible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know public intoxication it is called as a crime too. So well, let's see here. We got drunk driving. So you disagree with drunk driving or you agree with drunk driving? Because I would definitely disagree with that one. I don't want people out there drunk driving. Cannabis being illegal, right? So that's something that it's kind of like in society. Some states have completely legalized it. Some use it for medical use. So that
This is based on laws where you currently live, and I'm saying honor killing. I don't think Utah has any honor killing laws.
Yeah, you're right. So that one's more based probably in Middle Eastern cultures. There.
I know in some places being caught with weed can actually lead to execution.
Yeah, you're right. In some countries,
Legitimate, straight execution. In fact, there's been cases where people have had weed slipped onto them, so the law will kill the person for whatever reason.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot that goes, but it's all dependent upon where you live, the culture, that kind of stuff. But as for the FBI, what they have done is they have basically, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8 different main crimes that they categorize, or specific crimes. And this is when you go into like the statistics that police departments go and they submit to the state, and then the state bills are there. Yeah, I mean, if you're not feeling good, you can always watch the recording later. No worries. Okay. All right. So though these things on here are what they do. So the one is criminal homicide. It's the willful non-neglect killing of a human being by another actor, right? And there's different types of murder that you talk about, like murder in the first degree, which is like premeditated, that kind of stuff. In the second degree, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that is one that they do. Another one is rape that they look at statistically. Robbery is another one. Now, robbery is different than burglary. We're going to talk about both of those, okay? So robbery, right, is the force or threat of force or violence to be able to gain something of value, okay? So there is a difference between robbery and burglary. Okay. Next one, aggravated assault. Okay. It's an unlawful attack by one person upon another for the purpose of inflicting severe or aggravated bodily injury. Okay. This is where we have the difference. So burglary. Okay. Burglary is the unlawful entry of a structure to commit a felony or theft. So basically a burglary, like you're not really intimidating or doing violence. You're actually just kind of almost like sneaking in to the place and getting it. Okay. Guess the cat's sneaking in. Okay. The next one's larceny or theft. So this is the unlawful taking, carrying, leading, or riding away of property from the possession of or constructive possessions of another person. Okay, so when we're thinking of this is we maybe think of like white collar crimes. Does anybody know what white collar crimes are? You can put that in the chat or jump on the mic. What are white collar crimes?
I'd say the types of crimes that are like fraud or business embezzlement or stuff like, for instance, if I recall, Batman technically committed large amounts of white collar crime because in one of the actually, I forget which comic, but it was one of the more modern ones where Wayne Enterprises became a public business. And because of that, it was now open to, stock trade. But since it was open to stock trade, you have to actually display what the money is being used for. And Batman had a huge amount of problems with that because, well, he can no longer use Wayne Enterprises' money in order to fund this Batman.
Yeah, that's an interesting conundrum right there. Yeah, but white collar crimes is basically, they think of blue collar jobs, right? That means like working with your hands, that kind of stuff. So white collar would be, some people say like credit card fraud, embezzlement, taking money from one thing to one person to another. That's the kind of thing that larceny would kind of be falling under. The other one is motor vehicle theft. It's the theft or attempted theft of a motorized vehicle. Those usually don't end up too well. And the next one is arson. So it's kind of interesting. What people have done in the past is they would burn their house down, or somebody said not grand theft auto. So grand theft would mean that the price or value of what you stole is very high, right? So if we go back to the other one, I'm just kind of say motor vehicle theft. So if it's high, then it would be considered grand theft auto, right? But I know that's a popular video game too, right? Okay, arson. So some people that get out of get like the insurance money for like burning down a structure, or they need the money for a car or something like that. They would go and burn things, right? In an attempt to like defraud, or some people just do it because they're mad, right? At somebody else. Oh yeah. There's unfortunately a lot of crazy things like that that you just put in the chat there. Really horrible stuff. I mean, if you look about true crime kind of things that go on, it really kind of, it's kind of upsetting. Okay. We're going to watch another video just really quickly, and this kind of shows you how crime has kind of changed, and technology has helped with creating more statistics that we have and ways that we can kind of see how we can help crime in certain areas. So let's watch that real quick.
Technology help police solve crimes in movies and on TV all the time. But that same technology is being used right here, right now, to catch criminals. And tonight, police are showing off the tools they used to catch a man accused of attempted murder. News Channel 5's Jason Hackett is live in Riviera Beach with our story. Jason.
Well, Michael and Shannon, Jermaine Nellums was arrested on Wednesday and charged with many crimes. His capture was one part just good old-fashioned police work, but the other part of it is what you see behind me, the present and the future of policing. When it comes to crime, police will always be the first line of defense, but it never hurts to have some backup.
I'm a resource to the officers and to investigation as a whole.
The resources Officer Osel Harrison provides are why Jermaine Nellums is sitting behind bars tonight, facing several serious charges. Riviera Beach police believe Nellums shot a man near Silver Beach Road and Avenue R on December 4th. The path to catching him began here at headquarters in an area dubbed Sky One, starting with the shot spotter system.
It triangulates the audio from the sound of a gunshot.
What you're hearing are the 12 rounds Nellums allegedly fired at his victim that night. The victim was able to give police a description of the vehicle he was in, and that's when the city's real-time surveillance system came into play. It spotted a truck matching the description in the area minutes before the shooting.
We're able to piece together the varying points from entry to exit as far as how the truck traveled throughout our city.
The department's license plate reader system furthered the investigation. The reader was able to scan the plate on the truck Nellums was driving, leading them to the rental company he got it from, leading them to the alleged shooter. It sounds like the future, but for this department, it's the present.
I kind of liken it to when DNA was discovered. You can't get away from it. You cannot get away from our technology.
The department's message to criminals: enter Riviera Beach at your own risk.
We are letting you know we are going to aggressively pursue criminal behavior.
You will be apprehended, and we have the resources that can tie in to make that arrest possible.
Now, Riviera Beach was actually awarded for having one of the most technologically advanced police departments here in the state of Florida. And
all right, so we're getting all of this kind of technology out there. It's able to help us help police officers and stations solve crimes. But there are some really sad cases which people are kind of talking about on the chat. You have the Susan Powell case that ended horribly, all kinds of things, right? So unfortunately, we have those things that kind of go on. But besides technology, what other or the technology they talked about, what are other like ways that police use to catch criminals, right? Okay, so police dogs, okay, good. Witnesses, DNA samples, evidence, investigation. Yeah, when DNA came out, that solved a ton of crimes, right? So that helped out a lot. Spike strips. I like that. So I used to watch a little bit, you know, when they do those high speed chases and everything like that. And always when they put down that spike strip, right, it ended. Yeah, 31 years to solve. And they're going back and they're finding people like that are like in their 70s and 80s that committed crimes in their 30s plus. So some crimes like murder, those big crimes that we talked about, right? Those main crimes, there's not what's called a statute of limitation. Like little crimes and stuff like that, like if you don't get caught within a certain amount of time, they can't charge you. But murder is one, right? You know, rape is one. All of those types of things, you could get caught at any time. I mean, you could commit them now, and then you would be worried all the way up until the time you die that you're going to get charged and caught with it. Okay. All right. So somebody said criminal profiling, helicopters. Yep. Fingerprints, like matching teeth or something. Yep. Speed gums or bumps, maybe that was just spelled wrong. Different types of government protection, tracking cell phones. Yeah, that's something that they came out with, that we know that the government sometimes is watching our cell phones, right? I don't know how you feel about that. I don't like it too much, but it's just some things like that. Okay. All right. So we have all this data that's always collected. Urban and rural areas. One thing that we noticed is that more crimes are committed in the city. And why do you think that may be? There's also some other ones that they look at age, your gender, your race, if you're adult or juvenile. But think of that a little bit. Why do you think that more crimes are maybe committed in the city? You're able to jump on the mic or the thing. Okay, good. Yeah, there's more people there. There's more police officers there. Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Yep, more people, less. Yeah, so out in rural areas, there's less people. I mean, I lived in more of a rural area growing up, and we used to do all kinds of fun things like in the field and stuff like that. And I don't think anything really illegal, but we used to shoot off like illegal fireworks, right? It wouldn't be illegal anymore, like the ones we were shooting off, but back then they were. You couldn't get any over like 10 feet high or something like that. There's different things. Yep, somebody said different cultures. There's more people. There's a lot that has to do with it. But they do all these kind of statistics and stuff, and you can actually go online and find what the clearance rate is of these main things in your area. So, for example, overall, if you were to commit murder, there's a 63 to 64% chance that you're going to be caught and convicted. Okay.
That's not really the best of odds.
No, if you want to
40, they're still solid like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's still quite a few that get off, right? So, like, statistically, if you wanted to commit a crime, you probably want to do like either auto theft or burglary, right? Because you got a better chance of getting off.
Now, I'm not encouraging this, but you could technically rob the elderly, especially ones that have been diagnosed with dementia.
Yeah, they would have no idea.
Or if you want to be really technical about it, you could technically rob anyone who's on the sex offender list, because they're not allowed to own any type of guns, and they always have to be shown to where they live. So they won't have any guns to protect themselves with. They're already at a bad source of life, so no one will really care as much about what you do to them. And you already know where they live.
Well, sounds like you've thought way too much about that.
I have not. I've just been on the bad side of YouTube way too many times. I've been on YouTube since I was 8. I'm currently 17. I've been on YouTube way too long.
Yeah, so somebody says in the chat they want them to steal their car because they got transmission issues.
You guys can just come and steal it. I'll collect the insurance. I'll be able to buy a transmission for my truck.
Yeah. I'm not saying that we're gonna falsify anything. I'm just saying if like a thing or two of gasoline disappears and suddenly I don't know where my matches went, and suddenly you can claim a bunch of money on your car, that's perfect.
All right. Yep. So that would be
no. At least my gas alone. That stuff's expensive.
Yeah, that would be under arson. So right, like let's think before we do things here. Anyways, they have different other things that I'm kind of skipping through because there's a lot of stuff like. Oh yeah, what do I have here real quick? Let's see. Thinking. Okay, yeah, this is a good. So you think? I mean, they say they have all these crimes that happen, right? But we know that they're reported under the rate that they actually are. So why do you think not all crimes are reported? Okay, so not enough evidence. Not all crimes have to be reported. Okay, that there is a thing like, for example, what if it was your sibling that committed the crime, right? Are you going to want to report that? Okay,
I'm snitching. I don't care. I'm snitching.
Okay, so maybe you're just saying that you would do it, right? Some people are then again intimidated by the person that happened, right? So you always heard that side, nope, not snitching on them. But you probably heard the term, snitches get stitches, right? But people are worried that they're going to get in trouble or the person's going to retaliate against them. So I said, my brother's my blood, you don't want to turn in that. So there's a lot of non-reported crimes that go on, right? And so when you look at these reports, you got to always think that, they are lower than they actually are. And usually because they're non-reported because of some reasons, okay? So here's the thing that they need to talk about: fear of retaliation, feeling police inability to solve the crime. That's something too, right? They don't trust the police. They don't trust the authorities. Crime may have involved relatives, neighbors, or close friends, and you don't want to hurt them. Okay. So crimes in different areas go up and down. For example, one thing that's interesting is more crimes happen in the summer rather than the winter, or at least are reported, right? Why do you think that would be? It's cold outside, right? People don't go outside as often, right? They're not around people as much. So there's plenty of different things that kind of affect all the things that are going on, okay? All right, we're going to skip some stuff here because we're kind of rolling. Let's go look at just some of the statistics right here before we end. These ones, I believe, are in Utah, okay? They are in Utah. So, for example, let's look at this one. Officer assaults, right? And I'm trying to remember when this was at. This is a bad graph. Hold on. Oh, assaults on officers. Offenses, they're 240, cleared 207. So the clearance rate is 86%. So if you're going to assault somebody, do not assault a police officer because, let's be honest, you're going to get in trouble, okay? There is a percentage of assault with injury and without injury. So at least a lot of them are not injury. Assault, right? So if we went back to what assault was at the beginning of this presentation, and I can open this up. So assault would be right here: an unlawful attack by one person upon another for the purpose of inflicting severe bodily injury, okay? So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about assault, okay? All right, here's some other interesting things here. Officers' assaults, if you look, most of them happen from at the night or early in the morning, right? From 8 p.m., it usually gets dark kind of around that time till 12 a.m. and then 12:01 to 4 a.m. So if you're going to get assaulted, you're a police officer, you're probably going to get assaulted at night or very early in the morning. So these are the kind of results that you could kind of look at and see, and they have those different statistics for your number, Eric. Okay, so this is kind of very interesting. In the state of Utah, I'm trying to remember when this data was put out. It's a little bit old, but there's one homicide in the state of Utah every 7.8 days. There's one rape every 9.6 hours, one robbery every 8 hours, one aggravated assault every 2.7, burglary every 38 hours, larceny every 7.4, motor vehicle theft every 1.3, and an arson every 1.13. So there's a lot of people in Utah, but you need to see like crimes are constantly happening. So it's something to be aware of. Okay, that ends our class for today. Did go over our 30 minutes, but that's okay. Just remember what you have this week. Let me go to this little calendar thing. Unit 1 quiz was due already. So if you haven't done it, get it done. Wasn't that hard. If you go look at the video recording from last week, which is, you can just hit right here and find it. We went through all the questions in class. This one, I'm not going to go through all the questions, but as you can see, as it pulls up here very slowly. Yeah, if you're good, you feel like you know everything, you can take off. The exit ticket is what the quiz right here. Okay. All right. It's going to make me start the quiz again. So it's going to be going over the definitions of those main crimes that we talked about: murder, robbery, burglary, theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. Okay. So shouldn't take you very long, but make sure you get caught up. You know all those terms. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll stay after if you have any questions, but if not, have a great day. See you, everybody.